on the season for Bates as well. In fact, Bates had a double-double in their win Tuesday against Edward Waters University out of Division II. The first-year head coach is Kenny Payne. Most recently an assistant with the New York Knicks, a member of the 1986 National Championship team under Denny Crum here at Louisville. The opening tip is controlled by the Rattlers in green, Louisville in the gray, red, and black. So glad you're with us for ACC basketball. Brian Oliver.
And talked to Kenny Payne earlier today. He said he wants this Louisville team to come out and defend with a sense of urgency. You know, obviously coming off of that big win against Western Kentucky. He wants them to be able to come out with a sense of urgency early.
Shot clock is down to 3 for the Rattlers. Smith tries to drive it down the lane. Tough shot, and it's pulled in by Curry.
Good job, Cindy. Hit that, come on.
Huntley Hatfield, 3-ball. Exactly what Coach Payne told us. His defense led to the offense at the other end when they put up a season high in points with 94 in that victory against Western Kentucky on Wednesday. They led it by 11 at halftime. Tillman stepping back. That one's up for grabs and picked up by the Cards in traffic. Mike James was able to grab it. Ellis, a little touchdown pass as the Cards playing a bowl game at Fenway Park today against Cincinnati.
Let's go, El.
Last check, they had the lead in that game, Brian, at Fenway Park. Withers in the paint, and he travels.
You see solid defense by Smith.
Robert McCullum, 6th-year head coach for FAMU.
You look at Robert McCullum's resume and talk about a coach that's been everywhere and done it, a little bit of everything.
Head coach at USF, at Western Michigan, took that team to the NIT. An assistant for several programs, including UCF, Illinois, Florida, and many others. That was knocked away, recovering defensively. Huntley Hatfield.
You'll see this Louisville team, they'll do a lot of switching on the perimeter. They feel like they got bigs that can switch out. That last time you saw Huntley Hatfield being able to play solid defense and come up with the block.
Withers, catch and release, and it's all net.
Ellis picking up where he left off in the other game. Again, we highlighted the fact that he's a guy that's a great distributor, being able to move that defense and getting Withers a wide open jump shot.
Withers was shooting 37% from beyond the arc. The Rattlers come back with a 3 of their own from their leading scorer, Jalen Bates.
Bates is one of those guys that can not only knock down that 3, look for him to be able to touch that paint as well.
Bates shoots 39% from beyond the arc, and Mike James stepped on the sideline in front of the Rattler bench.
Again, with that defense to offense for Louisville, you see Huntley Hatfield come up with that defensive block, and then again, they're going to come out and try to get there, move the defense. You see being able to get the ball wide over to Withers. And again, Ellis does a great job of being able to pull 2 guys and realize that there's got to be somebody open. It's not rocket science.
Withers was about 25 feet away for that 3, Brian. Well behind the line. 22 feet 1 3/4 inches away. Shot clock is inside at 10 for FAMU. Offensive foul against the Rattlers.
You saw Smith get around Ellis with a little bit of a chicken wing there. Again, anytime you turn that corner and you see Ellis staying solid, Smith got by him, a little bit of a wraparound off of that offensive foul.
Anticipation, a near steal as Chase Barnes almost intercepted that one, number 10 in green.
And Tom, you see Florida A&M extending their pressure. This is how they're going to be able to disrupt this Louisville team, because in the past, Louisville has struggled with being able to have turnovers. If you want to be able to get out and get some early offense, change up your defense a little bit, give them some different looks, and you'll see from time to time, this Robert McCullum team, they will give them different looks defensively.
Louisville shot 54%, a season high in the victory on Wednesday. And they made 13 3-pointers. Curry on the interior.
And that's one of the things about Sidney Curry. I mean, he's a man down low among children, and when you can give him an opportunity to be able to get over that right shoulder, you go ahead and you spread it out, 4 out, and allow him to be able to eat inside.
Curry goes 6'8", 270 pounds. Ellis, steal, 2-on-1 with James. The bounce pass, hustling back and knocked away by Bates. Curry follows the play and he lost it. Tillman on the run. He lost it on the way up and Bates grabs it. Erratic play at both ends of the court, Brian.
Yeah, how about that block by Bates from Florida A&M, though, and looked like Louisville had the numbers, came up with a big block.
Never gave up on the play. That jumper comes up short from Bars. Up ahead, Curry. And he beat everybody to the rim.
Great vision by Ellis. A lot of times you teach point guards to keep your head up. You saw Big being able to run, giving us Curry an opportunity to be able to finish.
And you can really tell how Curry has improved his conditioning, hustling down there and beating all the Rattlers to the basket. And he pulls down the rebound at the defensive end. Averages about 4 boards per game, and Curry 2.5 points per game. Already has a couple of buckets. Withers from the corner.
And even though Withers missed that shot, when you see Ellis, the fact that he's able to touch the paint, Kenny Payne said he wants his guys to share the ball, but it also starts off with the paint touches.
Tillman. Curry has it on the baseline. Louisville went 13 of 25 on 3-pointers, Brian, on Wednesday as Withers turns around and calculates the angle.
How many times have we seen Ellis being able to get it, and the guys are running. Florida A&M trying to do a conscious effort to get back in transition, but anytime you can throw the ball up to your big, they're going to run hard, and that last time Withers being able to get a low post touch and being able to finish at the rim.
So Ellis now with 3 assists in the early going in the first half. They work it inside. It gets knocked away from Chapman. On the run. Knocked away by Bates. There'll be a foul on the play on a driving J.J. Traynor.
Tom, we got Ellis again picking up where he left off with him 10 times. Being able to get the ball up, said, big fella, you gonna run. I'm gonna let you eat today. I hope you brought your appetite because they're off and running. Louisville up early, 9-3.
Cardinals in front of the first half, 9-3. Florida A&M comes in with a record of 2-6. And Brian Oliver, not too bad considering the turnover on this roster. 11 new players, and they lost their top 7 players from last season.
But Tom, here's the thing that stands out. Return 5% of their scoring. Talking about emptying the chamber and trying to load up again. You know, for Robert McCullum, he's trying to get his guys and trying to get them acclimated. But if you looked at their schedule, they have played some heavy hitters earlier on in the season.
MJ Randolph was the SWAC Player of the Year last year, their first year in the conference, and they finished 4th with an 11-7 record in the SWAC. 13-17 overall last season for Florida A&M. Let's get a look at our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Ford dealer with Brian Oliver.
Well, when you look at both teams, you know, for the keys, for Florida A&M, they got to create some points off of turnovers. This is a team, again, that doesn't have a lot of scoring. And for Louisville, we've already seen it, Tom, pace and get it up and down. Ellis has already assisted on 4 of the Louisville field goals.
Let's go, Cardinals!
Set his career high with 10 assists in the win against Western Kentucky on Wednesday for Ellis. Bates, not bashful.
Louisville's done a good job of being able to limit Florida A&M to only 1 shot. And again, you see that they're not sending a lot of guys to the offensive boards, realizing they've got to get back in transition.
Yeah.
The 94 points on Wednesday, Brian, the most scored in 3 years for this Louisville program. Foul against the Rattlers and Tillman. First on Tillman. 3rd on the team. Cardinals also had 17 assists in the victory Wednesday. That was a season high. Without question, the high water mark and the first win for Kenny Payne. We showed you right at the top of the broadcast the water shower he got in the locker room.
Take in.
Back
working his way down for two. Brandon Huntley-Hatfield.
And if you looked at that last offensive possession, you see how Louisville, every player touched the ball. Kenny Payne preaches the fact that moving that ball, getting everyone involved, and then you saw that you were able to get the ball down low to Huntley-Hatfield. Nice little jump hook.
He was a double-digit scorer off the bench on Wednesday with 11 points. He was 4 of 6 from the floor. Hit a couple of three-pointers as well, and he is the leading rebounder as well for Louisville. In a congested area, a couple of players hit the deck awkwardly. Our officials this afternoon: A.J. Desai, Jerry Heater, Chase Shaw. Richard Matthews picks up the foul, number 34 for the Rattlers.
You talked earlier about for Florida A&M having all of the newcomers. Sometimes it takes a team a long time to be able to establish some type of offensive rhythm. And, you know, this Louisville team has come out, has turned up their defense. Florida A&M not having much success at being able to touch the paint. And again, Louisville limiting to only one possession at a time.
Lands behind the line, trying to add to a 9-0 run. They'll get another chance as Withers preserves the possession. Trainer flips it back out to Withers. Shot clock at 10. DeCilly is also in there, number 11 for the Ville. A stumble by Withers, and he carried it, according to Jerry Heater, right on top of the call.
Yeah, you see Withers, seemed like he may have tweaked that ankle a little bit. You see Florida A&M doing a good job on his defensive possession. You see Withers getting tied up there. It looked like he may have stepped on the defender's foot. You know, Jalen Withers, as he limps over to the bench, is one of those guys that Kenny Payne talked about that's multi-dimensional as far as his ability to defend, to block shots. A guy that you can throw the ball down to in the post and can create his own shot by putting the ball on the floor.
Withers, the redshirt junior from Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the tri-captains, to the bench with that tweaked ankle. A 12-3 advantage in the first half for Louisville. Floater, missed, tapped around. Lance came away with it.
Foul on 4.
That was Hans Luis Jude on that runner. Lance got it back. They work it around. Trainer misfires.
Florida A&M's got to find some offense again. They've tried to run their sets. Louisville doing a good job of being able to hedge, buy the defender a little time, and then on certain occasions, you see great backdoor play.
Unable to complete the play. Louisville, the second ACC opponent this season for Florida A&M. They lost in mid-November at Miami, 87-61. And their next two games, how about Kentucky and number 1 Purdue coming up on deck for the Rattlers? Huntley-Hatfield against 2 defenders. Shot clock at 5 for Ellis.
3, 2.
Must shoot. Chase for the loose ball. And it's out of bounds off of Basili of Louisville. The Cardinals and Ellis have the lead here at the KFC Young Center. ACC basketball is brought to you by your local Ford dealer. The Works Nitro, available at worksnitro.com. And by the Fresh Market, voted #1 best supermarket in America. Kenny Payne looking good in that Louisville uniform, as well as his 76ers jersey after being drafted in the NBA. Kenny Payne, a first-round pick. He was 19th by Philadelphia and played 4 seasons with the 76ers. His numbers, Brian, here playing for the Cards.
And my man KP, because we can share history. We were in Philly together. And then, you know, talking about a guy that can shoot the thing and at his size, put up great numbers here. You know, we had a chance to visit, you know, pregame. Super happy for him, and he's a guy.
Hold on a second.
Look at that. Who is that guy right there, man? Hey, you know, the thing that strikes out is that this was my rookie year.
Oh, my God.
Time I couldn't grow a mustache until I was 22, man.
Number 31. Looks like you were at the free throw line. Lining one up there. Brian Oliver and Kenny Payne, teammates in Philadelphia. And the first thing that Kenny Payne said to me at the shoot-around today when he came over to me and Brian, he pulled me aside and said, Brian Oliver, one of the greatest teammates I ever had. We stayed around in the gym. We got our shots up. That's the kind of work ethic it takes to be successful at the collegiate level and at the professional level as well.
Yeah, KP and I, man, we went through it. Shout out to Charles Barkley, Rick Mahorn, Johnny Dawkins, Hersey Hawkins, that whole crew back then.
Steele, Lands has it for the Ville.
And here's one of the things that's shown out in the first half is that Kenny's talked about the fact that he wants his team to defend with urgency, be able to get some turnovers, take their time. He's given them the freedom to run, but also wants them to have some discipline to run their half-court set.
Curry trying to muscle his way on the baseline, lost the handle, and to the Rattlers. By the way, Ellis has not scored so far, Brian. He's only taken one shot, and that was a three-point attempt in this first half.
But here's the thing, though, Tom. You see them up 12-3. You see Stevens with a long three-pointer. Good point guards take their time to get everyone else involved, and then they come out for their offense. And I like the way that Ellis is letting the game come to him and not forcing it, especially coming off a 30-point game.
The Rattlers don't shoot the three particularly well, 27% on the season, and now they must shoot. Take a three from Stevens. Gonna have another chance at it. Tillman trying to shake Lands. They get an open three from the corner. Issa, weak side. Curry runs it down.
When you talked about the fact that Florida A&M has not shot the three wells because they have not been able to penetrate that Louisville defense. You see it last time. You see that foul by Basili going on the penetration.
It looked like Stevens got a piece of Basili, and it will be on Stevens.
Tom, I thought it interesting in talking to Kenny Payne. He talked about the growth, and I just asked him, how do you keep your guys frustrated and focused on, the task at hand, seeing that they had dropped so many? And he said that he felt like, that he had to go back and teach a lot of the guys the basics of the game, teaching them about being able to have ball movement, being able to touch the paint, and he feels like they're making this type of progression. And you see that offensive foul being called on James, extending that arm. And I asked him, I said, and again, as you go back and look at the replay here, you see James come out and trying to extend himself. You see right there, Dominguez being able to sell.
We're inside of 10 minutes here in the first half. Stevens hanging and missing. Somehow the ball found him. Circus shot at Stevens with some flair and touch on that one.
And Stevens not giving up on the play. You saw it last time for throwing the ball in the post, had an offside pin for him to come off. Again,
he's only seeing action in his second game this season and getting in the scoring column for the Rattlers. That foul against FAMU. Stevens picked it up, his second.
One of the things that Florida A&M has done a better job since the beginning of the game is getting back in transition, which you saw Louisville being able to come out early, get some easy baskets in transition. They've done a better job in getting back and force Louisville to have to play against that half-court defense. Other than throwing the ball in to Curry, Louisville's hit a little bit of a scoring drought.
Driving, Ellis drew the defenders. James, that's a three. Came up short, but Huntley Hatfield was waiting for it over the shoulder and into the bucket.
Huntley Hatfield doing a good job of realizing where the ball is coming. But then again, good ball movement by Louisville. And again, if you're Florida A&M, you cannot give them those extra opportunities.
That was Smith on the drive, and Ellis picked up the foul, his first.
Last possession, you see Huntley Hatfield realizing being at the right place at the right time. A lot of times your bigs would take those, and say, hey, look what I found. Florida A&M got to make sure that they box out the bigs and not get them early opportunities.
Huntley Hatfield with 4 points now, cleaning up that mess at the other end. Stevens. Huntley Hatfield the rebound.
You look and you're saying, why is Florida A&M shooting so many threes? Louisville's done a good job of not allowing them to be able to get. You see nice little pass over.
See, they got a good look out of the set, right, Brian?
They got a good look out of the set, but then again, for Florida A&M, they got to do a better job of being able to go. And you see finally getting one to go. You see Smith being able to knock down that three. Tom, again, Louisville has not shot the lights out of it, and slowly you see Florida A&M being able to chip away at that lead.
Second made 3 of the game for Florida A&M. Louisville's just 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. That ball is going to stay with Louisville.
Again, when you see both teams going back at it, you know, Florida A&M trying to get back in this game. Byron M. Smith is like, you're going to leave me open, I'll take it. You see Florida A&M trying to chip away at that lead.
Florida A&M not afraid to trade punches with some of the heavy hitters, Brian, in the college basketball landscape.
And when I look at this schedule, I look at the fact that for a new team that's trying to figure it out, you want to be able to play against some heavy hitters that's going to allow you to be able to improve, because that's where a lot of coaches take advantage of the non-conference, get a chance to get a little coin in your pocket, Tom Wormy, but then you also allow your guys to be able to play against some really good competition.
Kentucky and Purdue on the horizon for this Rattler team. Their first SWAC game will be January 2nd against Bethune-Cookman. Again, it's their second year in the SWAC. They lost in the quarters to Alabama A&M 61-56 at that tournament in Birmingham, Alabama, where the top 8 teams in the SWAC qualify. And Texas Southern won that title a season ago. Robert McCullum, we told you about all the schools he's been at. He's been an assistant as well, Brian, at Georgia Tech, Oregon, Central Florida, South Alabama, Samford, Southern Illinois, Kansas State, Florida, Illinois, head coach at USF and Western Michigan. And now here at Florida A&M.
That sounds like a guy that was doing a lot of renting in that mind.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Ellis deep into the shot clock, had to shoot it. James got it back, put it on the floor, and was fouled.
Again, we've talked about Louisville and how they were able to get started earlier. This Florida A&M team has done a better job of being able to defend in the half-court set. Got to do a better job of being able to put a body on someone. You don't want to give Louisville those extra opportunities on offensive rebounds.
So into the 1-and-1 for Louisville. Mike James. And that's an 81% free throw shooter, missing the front end of that 1-and-1. He was 22 of 27 to start the day from the stripe. Stevens. Curry elevates. Ellis up ahead. Huntley Hatfield let the defender go on by and drops it in.
And here's what we'll tell you. Huntley Hatfield didn't even look to go to the defensive board. He realized that as soon as he's on the three-point line, he's releasing. Ellis knows as soon as he gets the ball, he's looking up, head up, and be able to get that great opportunity to let your big run.
6 points for Huntley Hatfield, and that one goes out of bounds off of the Rattlers.
Again, a lot of coaches will tell you that if you're a big and you're outside of the three-point line, now watch Huntley Hatfield. He realizes that I'm on the top. Ellis does a good job being able to get out, and then Huntley Hatfield takes his time and being able to finish it. And this is how you generate that offense, limit the other team. And you see a steal by Tillman, great hands.
Tillman shielding the defender with his body, and then he lays it in. Ellis now up to 5 assists in the game. He has not scored. 0 for 2 from the floor. He handles it now for the Cardinals.
Somehow I don't think that he's going to stay silent all day. But like I say, as a floor general, you want to be able to get your other teammates involved.
Withers, shot clock at 4. Driving. Curry the tap. Second effort against 2 defenders. And a foul coming up on Florida A&M.
And you talk about multiple efforts. Both Sidney Curry down there, built like a linebacker. And, you know, he's doing all he can down there. And, again, you want a guy that on that penetration by Withers, you see the first effort, the second effort, and being able to muscle up. I mean, talk about a handful down there for the FAMU defenders.
6 rebounds in the game for Curry at the free throw line. You were talking about tight ends in football. A win for Louisville for the football program, 24-7 at the Fenway Bowl against Cincinnati earlier today. This is a big sports day here in Louisville, Kentucky.
Did you like how I teed that one up for you?
I did. I appreciate the assist. Thank you, Brian.
Don't expect many. You do know I'm a shooter.
I know.
Every now and then a shooter will pass.
Yes. It's a rarity. It's great to be alongside Brian Oliver, the Georgia Tech legend, who had quite a travel schedule himself to make it courtside here at KFC Yum Center. Ellis picking up the foul.
You know, in order to work with you, I will do plane, train, automobile, skateboard.
I know you travel by private jet, so I get it. It's not a problem.
And by the way, I do appreciate you sending it.
I'll have to look into that. Great to be alongside Brian Oliver, Tom Wormy, our outstanding ACC college basketball production crew with you from Louisville, Kentucky. Chapman had it tapped away by Lands.
And good defense by Lands. That last time Chapman curled into the lane. He didn't give up on the play. Realized on the recover, you try to contest that, being able to come with that block.
It's a day of football, basketball, and volleyball. We'll get into that a little bit later as well for this Cardinal athletic program. Trainer turned into a double. Shot clock's at 3 for Lands. Has to recognize. Leans in, too strong. Curry dominating the boards. Offensive foul.
Great offensive rebound by Sidney Curry. And we talked about the fact that he is a load down there. And then you see Barnes being able to come over and absorb that contact. You see Curry go up, and then Barnes take it right between the numbers. Again, talking about a player being able to give up his body. That's one that you don't immediately just rub off.
Despite the offensive foul, Curry with 6 points and 8 boards. He is tied for the scoring lead with Huntley Hatfield, who is currently on the bench for Louisville. Both have 6.
You see Louisville showing a different look going into this zone. This FAMU team has not had a lot of success with being able to shoot the 3-ball. Good pass over to Barnes. Good dime by Smith. And again, Florida A&M doing a good job of being able to chip away at this thing. We see time and time again, looks like Louisville's about to open this thing up. But the Rattlers doing a good job of being able to execute their offense. And now they're showing Louisville a different look.
They won on Tuesday at home against Edwards Waters University, Division II out of Jacksonville, Florida, 58-47. They also beat Albany State in overtime. November 21st, hell ball situation. And that arrow favors Louisville.
That last time you saw Hersey Miller trying to dribble. Best way to get through a trap is you're going to pass. You're going to try to get it in the middle and take advantage of the mismatch. That last time you saw Miller getting caught on the side. The last thing you want to do is put that ball on when they're trapping you.
Guards shooting 39% as a team in this first half. Just 1 of 10 on 3-point attempts. That's knocked away. Other end of the court.
Oh!
Louis June elevation and a rim bender.
Anytime you see a guy look at it, it's June coming up, and again, Tom Wormy, we've seen Florida A&M being able to chip away.
Timeout, Cardinals.
See Kenny Payne a little frustrated with his team calling the timeout. On Florida A&M being able to come back.
So the Rattlers getting back in this one.
And one of the keys for them is to be able to have some turnovers. You know, June being able to turn over and said, you know what, jump if you want to. I see the Rattlers being able to cut this lead down to 4.
Points, Brian.
And FAMU has been able to use that defense to be able to get back in this game. Being able to understand that they're not going to have to depend on that 3-point, being able to spread the ball. They've been able to get the ball inside. This last time, you see turning good defense into offense. They've been able to cut this lead down right now. And like I told you, is that Louisville allowed them to stick around. And now they've got them on their heels.
Miller was pressured, got it to Lands. Hersey Miller into the lineup. Shot clock is at 4. Miller. Smith got a piece of him on the shot attempt.
You see Miller going to the line, but I think that what FAMU has been able to do, Tom, is that recently when they're trapping in that half court, they're forcing Louisville to condense their spacing. Louisville earlier was able to space them out, move that defense, and then either penetrate and touch the paint or get the ball down to their big. Right now, they're having some troubles with that now.
3 of 5 as a team from the stripe of the first half. Miller at the line, 5 of 8 on the season from the free throw line for the sophomore from Los Angeles, California, to transfer from Tennessee State. Stevens back into the lineup for the Rattlers, Brian.
Back in for the guards, number 5.
Bates and Smith are the leading scorers for Florida A&M. Nice hand for Curry as he leaves the game. He's been a force inside. Curry with 6 points and 8 rebounds in the first half. Tillman tries to direct a little traffic with 3.5 minutes to go in the first half. Louisville's led by as many as 9. Bates lost the handle in traffic.
Good active hands by Louisville. And again, if you're Florida A&M, when they run that zone, you don't want that ball to just stick. You want to try to penetrate those gaps, touch the paint, force the defense to converge, and then to get that kick out for a possible uncontested shot.
Shot clock at 10. Coming out of that corner, James elevates, challenged by Bars.
Bars doing a good job of being able to come challenge that shot. And again, we limited Louisville in that possession.
Tillman. Miller, the miss. Bates, the rebound. Again, just the one made 3 for Louisville in this first half. That came from Withers relatively early. Bars trying to set up camp. Somehow he's able to get it back. Whistle stops play. And it's going to be Bars on the foul. Looks like he got tangled up there, Brian, with Huntley Hatfield.
Yeah, you saw Bars call for that foul. Huntley Hatfield looks like going to the line. Louisville, as you see Ellis come back into the game. It seems that once he went on the bench, the flow for their offense kind of went away because, again, Kenny Payne talks about the fact that he wants to make sure that they're getting multiple passes and then the penetration. It seems like they was going a little bit more one-on-one last few possessions.
Double bonus for Louisville. 74% from the line of the season. Huntley Hatfield. Sophomore from Clarksville, Tennessee, and a transfer from Tennessee. Vasily back in there, number 11. 7 points in the first half for Brandon Huntley Hatfield. And now he's right on his average of 8.1 points per game. And the leading rebounder as well, almost 6 per game for Huntley Hatfield.
Louisville extending that lead back to 8. And again, as you close in a little bit more than 2 minutes in this half, got to get some stops. They've been doing a good job in the early part of the first half of getting stops and getting in the early transition. Florida A&M doing a better job of running the offense and not settling.
Tillman flips it out. Shot clock at 5. Inside of 2 minutes to go in the half. Bates got the defender in the air. Knocked around and taken by Traynor. Vasily. Ellis. Drew 3 defenders and lost it.
Poor decision by Ellis, and you see Florida A&M being able to capitalize on that again. Bates getting out, and how about Tillman being able to push the tempo? And it looks like as soon as Louisville tries to extend that lead, Florida A&M gets a turnover, and yet another one by June being able to go for the and one, Tom Gorman.
11 turnovers in the first half for Louisville, and Vasily picked up the foul.
And one of the keys, again, we talked about this Louisville team, that they can be prone to turnovers. And you see one turnover gets them out, Bates is able to finish, and then they turn around again, turns it over again, and you see June going in for what could be a 3-point and a 5-point swing for the Rattlers.
Closest they have gotten since it was 7-3 Louisville at the 15:44 mark of this first half. Ellis has not scored, 0 for 2 from the floor. He has 5 assists. After a 30-point performance, a career high on Wednesday against Western Kentucky. 1 minute to go in the first half. Vasily rattles out over the top. Huntley Hatfield. The Rattlers have done a really good job closing on Ellis and keeping him out of the scoring.
They have, and you understand that he's ahead of the snake, and so they've made him more of a passer.
That was blocked out of bounds. It's going to stay at this end of the floor. The Rattlers identifying the head of the snake. Exactly what you said. It's Ellis, and he hasn't scored.
And here's the thing, if they get active hands, you see the referee having a conversation with Barnes and Trainer there.
Timeout, Florida A&M.
Robert McCullum calls a timeout with 40.6 seconds to go, and there's 4.2 seconds on the shot clock. Louisville led by as many as 9 in this first half, but they have gifted the Rattlers in this holiday season 11 first half turnovers.
And that's one of the things that has plagued them earlier in this season, and you see it being at a rear its ugly head today. And so for Florida A&M, already 13 points off of 11 Louisville turnovers. And if you're Kenny Payne, you got to tell your guys that valuing the ball has got to be something that's primary. And if you're Robert McCullum, you have to love where you are, because you look at this pace. You've held this Louisville team to 22 points, and in what was an 8-point deficit, you've been able to carve it back into it by defense. And we talked about one of the keys for them is the points off the turnovers.
Now, they've only made 2 of 10 three-pointers, but conversely, Louisville just 1 of 11 for Coach Payne from the three-point atmosphere. Just over 40 seconds to go in our first half of play. First ever meeting between the programs.
5-second violation.
And that is the 5-second violation on the baseline. Basili couldn't get it in bounds.
And here's what Florida A&M did. They took away Louisville's first and second option, and as you realize once that referee gives you got 5 seconds, and then by the time they were allowed to bring Ellis off, it was already a violation. And you're talking about the frustration here. But if you're Florida A&M right now, you get a chance to either tie this game or cut it down to 1 with a little less than 40 seconds.
It's about a 10-second difference, shot and game. Bounces off. Second chance, Chapman. Followed his own miss and got the whistle.
Nice second action, nice second effort by Chapman. What they did is they ran him off that curl, and you see Chapman going up there and hustling for it, and then getting 2 defenders up there drawing that foul. Again, what looked like Louisville being able to open this thing up, now Tom Wormy gives Florida A&M an opportunity to cut into this league and cut it down to 1.
Chapman's a scorer for this team, a career-high 18 points in that overtime win against Albany State.
I mean, the story of the first half has been the Louisville turnovers, and then Florida A&M being able to capitalize. And then the half-court defense. I felt like them extending their defense, showing Louisville different looks, kind of flustered Louisville and took them out of their offensive rhythm.
Two-point game, final seconds of the first half. If you're the Rattlers, you shot 27% of the first half. You are thrilled to be in this position right now. Ellis trying to score very late, not high enough on the square. And the Rattlers will not get a shot away.
Halftime score, Cards 22, Florida A&M 20.
Cards led by as many as 9 in that first half, and the Rattlers are all smiles and high fives for Coach McCullum. As Brian, they trail by just 2 after 20 minutes here in Louisville.
And as always, and it's been the turnovers for them. Rattlers have been able to get back. You got to do a better job of being able to move the ball, touch the paint, get the uncontested shots. If you're Robert McCullum, pretty much stick to what we've done for the last 5 or so minutes of being able to be patient and then continue to use our defense to get the offense.
Florida A&M out of Tallahassee, Florida, has the ball to start the second half there in the green. Louisville in the gray, black, and red. Bars deflected by Curry.
Solid defense by Sidney Curry. Realized that Bars was trying to bait him and then get off the floor. Stayed solid, would come up with that block.
Curry had 8 rebounds in the first half, tying his season high here in 2022-23.
Tom, I'm interested now as Ellis looked to be a little bit more offensive minded. You see it looks to be a foul down on Hunter Hatfield. But going back to the point with Ellis, I thought that he sacrificed his offense to get everyone going. We look to see him be a little bit more offensive minded, seeing what they've struggled.
Trying to back it in against Bates. Bounce wasn't there. Curry the follow after the miss from his teammate Huntley Hatfield, at 8 points for Curry.
And good job by Curry. Realize a lot of tension on Huntley Hatfield on the post-up. He does a good job of being able to get that position. And again, for Louisville, they've had success early in being able to get those points in the paint.
1 and 5 of their home court so far this season for the Cards. Ellis stripped it away. Up ahead. Clear path. James went for the jam, and Bates challenged him and picked up the foul for the Rattlers.
Good pass ahead, but even better recovery by Bates, not giving up that easy basket, because it looked like Louisville was picking up where they started in the first half. You see good defensive possession. You see Ellis coming up, and then Withers being able to get the ball ahead for James, but good recovery by Bates. You see the last play.
First point of the game for James, who had missed all 4 of his field goals and missed his only free throw prior to that one. A couple of changes for Florida A&M. Smith is out. Barr's also out. Richard Matthews, number 34, has come in for the Rattlers with Mike James.
We see Louisville with a little bit of extended pressure. A lot of times it's not so much to steal the ball, but it's to try to get them out of their rhythm. Florida A&M, you stay disciplined what you've been able to do. Yet another deflection by Louisville.
Ellis crosses it over and lays it in.
Louisville coming out, being able to set their offense by playing good defense. And again, if you're Florida A&M, this is one of those things right now, is that you got to take care of the ball, because Louisville, they said yet another turnover, 10-second. And again, for Louisville, coming out of the half, being able to come out to use their defense, you see timeout. The last play, good deflection, out and under, and instead we want to look and see if Ellis is going a little bit of a Euro step to be able to get that ball and finish the play.
So the Rattlers call timeout, and the Cards converted the turnovers. A 6-0 run to start the second half. Sidney Curry, 8 points, 10 rebounds. A season high on boards, and the moves in the paint from Curry.
And we talked about the fact that he's found multiple ways to be able to put his impression on this game. And I love the fact that being able to score, being a monster on the glass, being very active and giving them that inside presence that they've needed. And again, right now, you're already 8 points and 10 boards. And you see, last 5 games of the 2021-22 season, averaged about 17 points a game and 9 rebounds. Got out the gate with a little bit of a struggle, but had a nice game on Wednesday and then got a good start tonight, this afternoon.
Hit double digits on Wednesday with 10.6 boards. Prior to the game against the Hilltoppers, as Curry scores on cue. Brian, he only had 15 points leading up to Wednesday all season.
So here's what we'll tell you about my friend Kenny Payne. He's from the old school like I am, is that when you got a guy that's rolling and you can take advantage of a mismatch, you go back to that last time, realizing he's got a guy in Sidney Curry, throw the ball down and give him a touch and let him cook.
Double-double, 10 points, 10 boards. First double-double of the season for Curry. 4th of his career. Bates at the other end for the Rattlers.
That was a nice move by Bates, being able to go with a little spin move. And again, this Rattler team has shown that they're not going away, extending that pressure, because in the first half gave Louisville some problem. They were able to create some deflections.
We showed you that they have played some very high-level competition on their schedule so far for the Rattlers. Ellis driving and scoring deep in the shot clock.
And again, when you realize now where Ellis starting to pick up his attention to trying to score. Great pick and roll, because you got a mammoth of a man in Sidney Curry setting that screen, and he gets a chance to get downhill for the finish.
4 points for Ellis. Tillman off the backboard and in over Curry, and Tillman has 4.
And I think Tillman's had a really solid game. Again, part of how they were able to cut in that lead was his play, being able to get everyone involved. And you see Louisville again having a little bit of pressure, problem with that pressure. Good pass. And see Burnside going up against Curry. I thought we were about to have a little poster action.
Curry wanted to rip the rim right off its hinges there, and a foul is called against Burnside.
You see Jalen Withers with a nice dime, and you see Burnside come over to challenge Sidney Curry. And again, replay shows got a lot of ball, but got a little bit of elbow too.
First miss from the line for Curry had been 2 of 2. Again, as Brian mentioned, his scoring average coming into this afternoon, 2.5 points per game, unable to cash in at the free throw line.
I thought it interesting in talking to Kenny Payne. He's talking about how he had to pretty much start over as far as getting a lot of these guys a little bit more acclimated with the fundamentals of the game. And as you see great backdoor pass. And you see the nice finish by Chapman. But back to the point is that it feels like his guys are starting to get yet another turnover as I talk about it. Florida A&M trap, and then you see Tillman with another basket. And it seemed like as soon as Louisville is able to get a little bit of lead, the Rattlers come back, 5 unanswered points.
Just a second ago, the lead was 10, largest of the game for the Cardinals. They finally offensive glass, and Withers completes the play.
And that's where the length of Louisville is going to give Florida A&M some problems. You saw Sidney Curry be able to go to the basket, but Jalen Withers not giving up on the play, being able to get that rebound for the putback.
7 points now for Withers, who followed the miss at the offensive end. Tillman ripping the ropes for the Rattlers, and he's into double digits with 10 points.
And again, Tillman coming down and being able to come out and give them some offense. And again, we've got this lead again. Florida A&M being able to cut back into that league, and it seemed that Jordan Tillman is the dude that's come back and got him going. First being able to create some offense by a turnover to the defense with a little bit of a step up. And then afterwards he said, you know what, I'm feeling it. Knock it down. Rattlers are cutting his lead down to 2.
So back in Louisville, Kentucky, KFC Yum Center, and all of a sudden, Tillman, the leading scorer on the season for the Rattlers, starting to heat up. Brian, he's into double digits with 10 points.
And not only with the 10 points, you see that line 4 for 7, 2 for 4 from behind the arc. 3 steals, and I think that when they've been able to make these runs, he's been right at the forefront, being able to create some deflections. And again, what looked like Louisville opened up the second half and getting some kind of stretching this game out. You know, Florida A&M done a good job of getting back into it.
Vasily hooks it into the corner. Huntley Hatfield. Strong shoulder. Lands, lost the handle, fumbled it out of bounds. Back to the Rattlers.
Louisville already up to 14 turnovers. And again, if you're Kenny Payne, you have to be frustrated. But on the other end, Florida A&M doing a good job of being able to not overturn Louisville over. They found a little bit of offense, both teams right now. Florida A&M 5 for 6 to open the second half. Before that turnover, Louisville 5 for 7.
And remember, both teams struggled from the floor in the first half, especially from beyond the arc. Issa trying to drive, has to flip it back out. Shot clock is at 10 for the Rattlers. Tillman looking for a screen. Around Curry, floats it. Curry grabs it in the outlet. 11 rebounds now for Curry. Difficult shot from Ellis, almost spun it in. Four points for Ellis. Both of those baskets coming in the second half. He was shut out in the first half. Bates straight away. That's a 2.
And we talked about Tillman. Bates has been that guy also, Tom, that's been able to come out. And you see this game tied. And so now, again, Louisville having problems with this Florida A&M trap.
They needed that one. A three-pointer out of the corner, and it's lands.
They definitely needed that because up until now, you know, Louisville has struggled. 1 for 11 from behind the arc.
Chapman hangs and scores at the other end. He's got 5.
And here's what we'll tell you, with a team like Florida A&M that's had such a tough schedule, these guys are realizing that the longer you allow them to hang around, it's going to give them confidence. And you see right now, they have proven that they're not going away.
Kamari Lands hit a 3 on the previous trip to this end for Louisville. Just his 7th made 3 of the season. Now he's driving, and he'll earn some free throws. Lands looking to score and earning a trip to the free throw line after the Rattlers coming back to tie us up here in the second half. That's on Luis June.
You see Kamari Land not settling for the 3, being able to put the ball on the deck to get downhill. Again, he was able to sell that because he hit that first 3.
First trip to the line for Lance. Bars will come in for the Rattlers. And J.J. Traynor for the Ville.
Also in for A&M, number 34.
Tariq Issa leaves. And Huntley Hatfield as well for Louisville. You got to look there at the incredibly experienced assistant coaching staff for Kenny Payne. Danny Manning, Nolan Smith, Josh Jameson, and Milt Wagner, by the way, is the director of player development.
And when you talk about the coaching experience and then even some guys with the playing experience, I mean, you got some studs over there with a great college basketball pedigree.
Shot clock inside of 10. Tillman just on the line. Curry took it down. Ellis. Right up the middle, down the lane, over the front rim and in. Ellis chance at the three-point play.
And what we've seen, Tom, in the second half is Ellis putting his head down and deciding that he's going to attack the rim. We saw him in the first half being more of a distributor. You see Sidney Curry realizes he got it. And then look at Ellis. He's realizing that, hey, I'm going to get downhill. I'm going to initiate the contact, being able to do not only make the basket, and look how acrobatic he is being able to finish the play and go to the line for an and one.
So Ellis at the line. Remember, he went for 30 points, 10 assists. He was the first Louisville player to do that since 2002. Curry got the miss and put it back up and in.
How about the big fella again, Sidney Curry, being able to eat on the boards. Come on with that missed layup. And again, he is a monster down the offensive board. You see Louisville extending their pressure. And for Basile, you got to stay solid. I know you're excited. You want to get this crowd into it, but you got to stay solid. Again, watch the position by Sidney Curry, being able to literally clear out the defender, gather himself in three guys, being able to finish it.
Basile picked up his second personal foul. He pressures Tillman. Tillman, the only Rattler in double digits with 10. Curry leads the way with 12 for Louisville. He's got a double-double with the 13 rebounds as well. They kick it out to Bates. Pass in tight quarters. Shot clock's at 2. Tillman just heaves it. And that will be a shot clock violation against FAMU.
Solid defensive effort by Louisville. That last time, they did not allow FAMU to touch the paint. They forced them to get to their third and fourth looks. And when you do that, you force the team to get down to what could possibly be a shot clock violation.
Replacing number 10, Bars.
Rattlers came back to tie us up at 34 earlier in the half. Louisville led by as many as 10 in this half, and by 2 at halftime.
And this trap has been the Achilles heel. And you see Ellis get downhill and absorb yet another contact. And what you've seen is that Ellis has picked it up another notch. Decide, I'm going to go ahead and put this team on my back. Tom Wormy extending his lead right now. Louisville up by 7.
Works Nitro. Professional grade battery.
CPI security.
Talking about security, how about your man Sidney Curry being able to muscle and house people down low. Already 12 points, 13 rebounds. He's that guy. Louisville has already got 26 points in the paint. And man, he has been a monster, especially in the second half, being able to pick up his scoring effort.
And take a look at his averages, Brian, coming into this afternoon. He was averaging 2.5 points and a shade under 4 rebounds, and he's gone for a double-double, first of the year, 4th of his career.
And again, I go back to my conversation with Kenny Payne, and he talked about their schedule earlier on and trying to get this team to build up their confidence, because you had a lot of guys that came back that did not have a lot of confidence coming into the season. There was a lot of uncertainty about violations. He didn't really get a chance to get many guys out of the portal, and what he feels like is that his team is starting to kind of get it. And one of these guys is Sidney Curry. You look at how efficient he's been. Part of the whole thing is being able to have comfortability with a new coach in his system, and he's starting to see it. You see Ellis get more comfortable, and now you see Sidney Curry having one of his best games so far of the season.
Curry is a senior in his second year in the program. Ellis at the free throw line. 72% from the stripe on the season. 7 points right now for Ellis.
And talking about Ellis, we've seen him being more of a facilitator, and yet Curry come with another offensive rebound. Ellis has been a little bit more focused on turning up his aggression on the offensive end, more of a distributor in the first half.
Ellis up to 7 points despite that free throw miss. 8 times this season he has gotten to double digits. That includes his 30-point game, third best performance in the ACC this season. Isaiah Wong had 36 in a win last Saturday against NC State. That's the most by any player this year.
Yeah, Isaiah Wong is showing that, he picked up where he left off last year. That Miami team is really good. Jim Larinaga has those guys coming back where, we talk about the Dukes and the Virginias, and obviously Virginia Tech. Miami's one of those teams to be reckoned with this year.
And ranked in the top 25 along with Virginia Tech, Virginia and Duke. A couple of players go to the deck looking for the loose ball. And that is Rattler basketball.
How about the scrappiness from Florida A&M? Again, it seems like as soon as we see a little bit of daylight for Louisville, look like they're about to open this thing, expand it to double digits, then you see Florida A&M being able to use that defense and the scrappiness to still hang around in there.
7-0 run right now for Louisville. Curry's tied his career high with 14 boards in this game. He's got a double-double. Leading scorer for the Cards, only player in double digits with 12. Bates couldn't handle the pass from Luis June. And that foul goes against Louisville.
But it was Sidney Curry. He had a smaller Chapman on him and he called for wiping him out.
Second foul on Curry. Brian, we implore everyone to stay tuned for the fast break presented by your local Ford dealer. We will touch on a number of subjects in and around the ACC. And that includes the game coming up after us, Virginia Tech and Grambling. Virginia Tech's only loss this season, Brian, was in the Charleston Classic. They lost to the College of Charleston by 2, and that's it. And that was the title game of that event.
And you and I did them early, as you see Sidney Curry, a big fella, leading the break.
He got it back.
Oh, my. Oh, we're going to see a highlight. And how about the challenge at the rim?
I think it was Chapman, number 2 in green, who went up with him, although...
And again, you see... good defense by the big fella's like, you know what? Don't let all this muscle fool you. I can lead the break. And you see Chapman come back. And a lot of times for bigs, you see being able to run the floor. And he's one of those guys, if you give him a chance, he will definitely put it on your head.
So Chapman was not whistled for the foul. Behind was Tariq Issa, and he picked up the foul for the Rattlers.
And what turned out to be a really good foul. I mean, if you're Chapman, man, I don't know if that was a smart business decision. Because, again, the holiday season, you don't want to be part of anybody's poster.
Curry has really done it all. And a standing ovation from the assembled crowd here at KFC Center for Sidney Curry, the senior.
And it's one of the things that he's playing with, the energy and the effort. And a lot of times that can be contagious. And you see right now, Louisville up by 9. Interesting to see what FAMU gets out of this play right now.
Rattlers have never led in this game, looking for 3 from Bates. Basili pulls it in. They did tie the game at 34 earlier in the half. Lands a little show and go. He gets twisted to the floor awkwardly, and he is shaken up on that baseline. Kamari lands. Issa picked up the foul.
You see good ball movement, and you see Lands with a little step through right there, getting his leg tied up, going up for that shot with Issa.
At the line for the Cards, number 22, Lands. He'll shoot 2.
So with 9:58 to go in the second half, double bonus for Louisville. Freshman from Indianapolis, Indiana. Career high 15 points on Wednesday. Made 3 3-point baskets and made all his free throws against the Hilltoppers.
And here's one of the things, too. At the half, Louisville only had 22 points. And already 25 points in the second half as we go under the 10-minute mark.
And this is the largest lead of the game for the Cards. And that one is out of bounds to the Rattler bench.
And you see Bates with ill-advised cross-court pass. And again, you do not want to give Louisville this opportunity to build off of that momentum. So far, they've done a better job of being able to take care of the advantage, take care of the ball.
How about Louisville? 8 of 11 this half, Brian. 73% from the floor. Huntley Hatfield able to regather. Shot clock's at 10. Basili. Nifty dribble. Pass knocked away. Issa was in the passing lane. Chapman glides to the rim for 2, and the Rattlers refuse to go away.
And again, what you keep seeing is a good, solid defense and being able to turn it into offense.
Trainer in the paint. Both sides of the rim. Huntley Hatfield. Back iron. 2 in tight chances for Louisville.
Florida A&M doing a good job of being able to come up with that rebound. And again, still in the game, being able to chip away as you see Jalen Withers coming back into the game.
8:40 and rolling in the second half. Chapman, shot clock at 8. Knocked away, Basili.
A little indecision by Chapman.
Ellis spins into a double, and Bates just held his ground.
Good job, and then Ellis not being able to finish. You see Tillman still putting the pressure, trying to get downhill.
Lands fouled Tillman, first on Lands.
What you've been able to see is that when Florida A&M gets a chance to be able to go in and attack, putting the ball downhill, and you see Tillman has been that guy. Louisville has given them opportunities with these turnovers to be able to get back into this game.
First trip to the line for Tillman. In fact, prior to that free throw, Rattlers had only attempted 3 in the game. Substitutions for the Cardinals. James, number 1. Withers, number 24. Basili and Lands to the Kenny Payne bench. First-year head coach, got that first win on Wednesday. His team scored 94 points and shot 54%, a season high, in the win on Wednesday. The Rattlers presenting a challenge to the Ville in their home court today. Withers, the kick. Trainer, that's a 3-ball.
And good recognition by Jalen Withers, realizing that you get downhill and aggressive, and see Tillman trying to get to the basket. Louisville doing a good job of being able to get downhill and make the extra pass.
Trainer again, dribbles, and it hits.
J.J. Trainer going on a mini run on his own. 5 quick points to be able to extend this league up to 12.
He only had 1 point in the first half. He's got 6 now. He's made it 3, his 10th of the season. In his first 2 seasons, Brian, he only made 7 threes combined, and he's got 10 this year.
Well, a lot of times for a player like that, when you can see the ball go in the hoop, gives you a little bit of confidence. It's a little step-back action by Bates coming up short.
Alley-oop attempt.
He saw Kenny Payne looking at Ellis. He's like, I like your thought, but the execution needs a little work.
They could not collaborate. The lead is 12 for the Ville. .52-40 is the largest lead of the game for the Cardinals with 7:15 to go in our second half. Let's take a look at today's Discover the Best, presented by the Fresh Market.
You're looking at, for Florida A&M, Jalen Bates is giving them that shot of points, 9 points, 5 rebounds. But how about the effort by Sidney Curry today? 13 points, 15 rebounds, efficient 5 for 6. He's definitely shown his presence in this game today.
15 boards for Curry, who came into the game averaging just under 4 rebounds per game. And what a performance by that young man. 5 of 6 from the floor. In his 2 games before today, Brian, he was 5 of 7 from the floor, so he has found the shooting touch. Now, granted, most of the time he's near the rim, but you still got to finish the play.
Well, and here's the thing, though, is that you see him being able to get offensive rebounds and the putbacks. They give him some post-ups, but he has a big, very athletic that will get out in the break and be able to finish on the break as well.
They tried to get it to Bates. It bounces on the end line. Louisville ball. Brian, you remember when the Rattlers came back earlier in the half. They tied the game at 34. That was at the 14-10 mark. Since that point, Louisville on an 18-6 run against Florida A&M.
And Louisville's done a better job of being able to handle his press. You see Jalen Withers. Oh, he said no. He was denied. You see June going up. How about that athleticism for Hans Louis June going up and block that?
Those 2 players had to be about 2.5 feet above the rim.
Well, again, a lot of times you see guys with that type of athleticism. It looks like Tom Wormy at the Y.
Yeah, right.
June was already up there waiting on him. Withers thought he had an easy dunk, but look at how high June goes up. We saw him being able to go up again. Look at that. That looks like Tom Wormy, man.
And you know what I also like, Brian? No call. Great defensive play, good aggression offensively. They met in midair, mind you, and no whistle.
Absolutely. I actually didn't see a foul to be called.
Stevens, that's a 3, and he was fouled in the process.
Every time we talk about Louisville being able to possibly run away with this thing, then Florida A&M comes back. You saw June with the big block on one end, and then good ball movement. They run Stevens off with a stagger. Guys are late. Withers makes the contact. It could possibly be a 4-point play. And again, you always teach the players you do not foul a shooter. Now Stephen goes and gets a chance to cap what could possibly be a 4-point play.
Unable to finish off the old school 4-point play. Stevens had only attempted 2 free throws all season prior to that. Again, it's just his 2nd game of action in a Rattler uniform this year. Junior out of Washington, D.C. Ellis. Got it back. Carving his way past 3 defenders. Up and in for James. And there was a foul.
Great ball movement. And then you saw Ellis penetrate. Kenny Payne is always talking about he wants multiple passes. And after that, you cap that off with a penetration. Watch the penetration by Ellis. Realizes he gets the finish to come over. Gets the ball, dumps it off. And then how about the finish by Mike James?
So James to the free throw line. Remember, this Louisville team, Brian, yes, they got their first win on Wednesday, but their first 3 games of the season were each losses by a single point.
Well, and you see, again, what looks like could have been another steal. See the numbers, and Stevens with a... I'm not sure you saw June almost for another highlight putback.
Tillman was stumbling. Off the glass and good for Tillman.
Man, how about Tillman? I think that he's come out, and Jordan Tillman has come out and had a great game. Sometimes the left-handed guys are so hard to play because they've got that little shiftiness to their game.
14 points for Tillman. December 22nd will be the next ACC game at NC State for this Louisville program. 0-2 so far in ACC play. Ellis. The road was closed. Goes for the 3.
You see frustration from Kenny Payne. That last time he wanted to give J.J. Traynor a touch, but he opted to float out to that 3-point line, forcing Ellis to shoot the 3.
Stevens again, and that's a 3.
You see Stevens with yet another 3. Timeout. Again, this Rattler team is not going anywhere. Again, cut that lead back down to 7.
That is 8 points for Stevens, Brian, and it's a couple of 3s in this half.
And you saw Stevens again. Him and I knocked that 3, and you see, but a guy like that, that's NBA range. If you Ellis, you got to be able to close out on that. And you see Tillman's like, man, you know what? Yes, I am feeling it. I'm feeling it. I told you I'm feeling it.
Dominguez Stevens, transfer from Seton Hall. Now, he has a flair for the dramatic. Last year against Prairie View, he hit a buzzer-beating 3-pointer to win that game against Prairie View. So he's been in those situations before. And again, just his 2nd game this year. for Stevens.
Well, and we talked at the beginning of the game, Tom, with the fact that they only returned 5% of the scoring from last year. When you get a new team, if you get a chance to play, what you do is you build camaraderie, you build confidence. And I told you that the longer that they can hang around and be yet offensive foul and another turnover, Louisville has had a really hard time with this Florida A&M press. And this is what's allowed them to stay in this game.
Third foul on Ellis. So for the game, the Rattlers are 6 of 16 on three-point attempts. And that includes 2 from Tillman and 2 from Stevens. Tillman, the leading scorer, has got 14 points on 5 of 11 shooting. They're trying to get Stevens back in the game. They wanted to get Stevens in there for Chapman, and now Coach McCullum sends Chapman into the fray.
And Stevens like, Coach, I'm feeling it, man. Let me get back in.
He's right behind McCullum. You can see him. Off the inbounds, Chapman short.
Not a good shot by Chapman. You've been able to get the offense. You guys are in a nice little offensive rhythm. Shoot that contested shot with Sidney Curry right there in your face. You could have got a better shot off of that one.
16 boards for Curry, building on his career high. How about when he and DJ Burns get together for that game against NC State? That ought to be entertaining. Lands with a turnaround.
Talking about 2 big dudes going at it.
Meanwhile, the outcome of this one, long from being decided. Tillman, crafty move. Knocked away, Chapman gathers it. Plenty of time on the shot clock. Around James for Tillman. Tried a corkscrew layup and got fouled in the play.
And that's where that's why defensive rebounding is so important. That last possession, you force Florida A&M into a difficult shot. And then Tillman being able to understand that I can attack the basket. I've got athletic guys that are going to come at me, and I just have to make sure that I finish it and draw that foul.
Mike James picked up his 3rd personal foul, and we've got a timeout on the court. The Rattlers continue to hang tough. 55-48, 4:25 to go.
A new kind of superfood? Hardy's new super.
And we welcome you back because we're going to finish off this triple header with Grambling State visiting Virginia Tech. The Hokies, they've got a conference win against the Tar Heels. Justin Muntz at 27 in that one, and they'll take on Grambling. That is scheduled for 4 Eastern. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Virginia Tech on a 5-game winning streak, 7-0 at home. Ranked 24th in the nation, one of 4 ACC teams, and oh yeah, the defending champs at the ACC tournament. They won it against Duke in the title game in Brooklyn last year. This year, Brian, we're going to Greensboro, North Carolina for the ACC tournament.
Yeah, and to go back to Justin Muntz, I mean, this is a guy that can play at the next level because again, he's got Swiss Army knife type skills where he can score, he can defend, he can be able to create.
Meanwhile, the Rattlers got it back. Louis June misses. Tapped around to Tillman. They've got time on the recycle. Smith. Tillman steps into it. That's a 3. Curry gobbles it up. It goes out of bounds. And that is Rattler basketball.
And what you're finding, Louisville's doing a good job of defending, but someone's got to get in there and help Sidney Curry secure a rebound. You're giving FAMU multiple opportunities, and they've got a little bit of a rhythm. You know, Stevens has come out, Tillman has shown he can make a shot, and Bates. So if you're Louisville, you've got to secure this rebound after a good defensive possession.
.25 advantage on the boards for Louisville. That's a tough shot from Stevens.
Yeah, that was a bad shot from Stevens. And sometimes just because you shoot it doesn't mean that you need to. That was a bad possession. He can get a better shot.
Stevens' anticipation almost had a steal. Trying to get around Withers.
That could have been a turnover for Ellis, but I put that on Jalen Withers. Again, you've got to be able to come to the ball. You can't wait for it. You allowed your man to come over. You've got to be able to secure that pass.
Ellis. Louis June defending. Now the double. 3.5 minutes to go in regulation, and Ellis alertly calls a timeout for the Cards. Up by 6. 3:30 on the game clock. Did you think we'd be in this situation, Brian?
Well, here's the thing is that we've talked multiple times. It seems like Louisville is going to be able to extend this lead. But Florida A&M has been able to use that trap. You would think that you want to stay away from the sideline, keep the ball in the middle, keep that ball moving. That last time Ellis picks up his dribble and you get trapped. They have had problems all afternoon long with this trap from Florida A&M.
Louisville out in front for the vast majority of this game. We were tied early, and then in the second half, early on in that half, Rattlers came back to tie this game at 34. Curry with a double-double, fourth of his career. That's a career high in rebounds. The turnovers, though.
I mean, that tells the story for Florida A&M. 21 points off of 20 Louisville turnovers. Right now, that 20 turns, the second most this season. And that's been the Achilles heel for this Louisville team. We talked that they lead the ACC in turnovers. And yet, what could have possibly been another turnover, you see Kenny Payne telling Jaden Withers, hey, keep it simple. Get the ball to Ellis. He's your point guard. Allow him. You don't have to try to do the extra play.
Back in for the Cards, number 22, Lance.
Lance has come back in for Kenny Payne on the inbounds. And now Ellis trying to get around three defenders. A twisting layup, and Ellis hits it.
And this is where you want your best player to take over. Ellis realizes they've had problems with being able to score, decides to put his head down, blows by his defender, and knows I'm just going to go ahead and get a bucket to be able to calm that run down.
9 points for Ellis, all in the second half. 4 of 9 shooting. Tillman misfires. Bates over Curry, and a foul against Louisville.
One of the things that we've seen, especially for Florida A&M, is not so much just the turnovers, is them being able to get the offensive rebounds for second opportunities. And again, you see this last play. No one box out Bates. Curry's on the backside of him, and Bates gather himself. He said, flex on. You think you strong? I got muscles too.
So Curry has 3 personals. Bates does not finish off the three-point play, but does have 11 points on 5 of 11 shooting. He and Tillman to double digits. And the lone double-digit scorer is Curry for Louisville. Ellis on the handle has 9. He got swallowed up defensively. Stevens lost it. Poked ahead, and James.
You see Stevens turn over that and turn the ball over off of good defense.
Chapman's coming back in. Stevens leaves the lineup.
You've seen in the past a couple of penetrations by Ellis, and I know he wants to be aggressive. But you got a 6-point lead with just a little less than 3 minutes. Right now, the clock is your friend. Run some clock, run your set, get a good look. You do not have to go downhill.
Louisville's led by as many as 12 in the second half. Largest of the game. James into the corner. Lance couldn't handle it. Another turnover.
And Tom, this is the thing that Kenny Payne has talked about. He doesn't want his guys to be robotic. You see that last time. James realizing that, hey, the play calls for me to pass it in, and now Louisville up to 22 turnovers. And this is, again, one of the things that's allowing this Florida A&M team to be able to hang around.
The other issue, Brian, might be that Louisville's only 3 of 14 in a game on three-pointers as the Rattlers shake up the lineup after making 13 threes for the Cards on Wednesday. Season high.
If you're Florida A&M, you don't need a three-pointer. You got 6 points. You got plenty of time. You got to get downhill. And again, for Louisville, you've got to box out. Everyone goes to the glass.
A 2-possession game with 2 minutes to go. Shot clock is inside of 10 for Tillman. Crosses it over and drives.
Oh, by the block by Sidney Curry.
Blocked it.
About that help side defense by Sidney Curry. You saw a nifty move. And so, again, you see Chapman getting ready to go downhill. Tillman going downhill. Sidney Curry going up. Good, clean block.
It's only 4 seconds. Traveling violation of the Stevens in the corner.
See, Stevens had in his mind he had to shoot a three, realizing that where the pass was, he didn't have to take those extra steps. He got a little happy feet right there, and you see, again, a little extra step. Again, sometimes you have to take what was given to you.
That really is a critical turnover with 1:57 to go in regulation.
And here's the thing, for Louisville, you have to be able to get the ball in bounds. You cannot panic. You don't want to get trapped.
Louisville's never lost to a SWAC team, 10-0. And the first all-time meeting between these two programs is one to remember. Can the Cards string together a couple of wins after getting one on Wednesday? And the first for Kenny Payne. Ellis kicks it. This is lands. Shot clock's at 5. Spins. Shoots and shorts. Bars has it. Tillman and his 15 points on the dribble. 1:15 to go on the game clock. Bates double teamed. He came up short, but Silly has it for Louisville.
Good defensive possession for Louisville. Again, that's where you want to go. Give the big fella a touch.
1 minute.
Interesting now, if you're Florida A&M, when do you look to foul? Again, you're under a minute. You've got a 2-possession game.
Ellis drops it off. Curry misses in close. 40 seconds to go in regulation, Brian. Still a 2-possession game. 3 from the corner is strong. Barnes, weak side in Tillman. Trying to work off a screen. Bars has to shoot a 3.
Out of bounds.
Out of bounds off of Louisville. They are going to take a look at that. There were certainly players from both teams in the vicinity as the ball bounced away. And Bars was forced to take the 3, Brian.
Yeah, and I thought that for Florida A&M, they wasted time. You didn't necessarily need a 3. It was a quick 2. But then if you look at the replay right now, you look at what possibly could have gone out of bounds off of Kamari Lands. From my point of view right there, that looks like that may be Florida A&M basketball.
And by the way, that was Barr's first 3-point attempt all season. And he really had no choice because they were late in the shot clock.
And here's the thing. I thought that they exhausted too much time trying to look for the 3. In situations like that, you go for a quick 2, and then you've shown that Louisville's had problems with your pressure all afternoon long.
Final 2 minutes of regulation and overtime. Review for possession. The call on the court is Rattler basketball, so they must have indisputable video evidence to overturn that call and support the ball being given to Louisville. Chapman's number 2. Lands is 22 for Louisville.
Yeah, it looks like, just from again, it looks like the deflection was off of Lands. Interesting to see. Yeah, for every angle right there, that looks like that's got to be Florida A&M basketball. And I'm sure, obviously, they want to take their time to make sure to get it right. That looks clear.
I totally agree with you, Brian. I think that angle right there is clear evidence to support the call originally, which was Rattler ball.
Are you confident enough? You just like if you were gambling, would you put $50 on it?
I might go higher than that. How's
okay,
that? I feel
right,
really good about this replay.
Oh, we're getting that Tom Worley money.
Supplied by our outstanding technical crew this afternoon, bringing you ACC basketball. Again, the officials today: A.J. Desai, Jerry Heater, Chase Shaw. Jerry Heater is coming our way to talk to Brian Oliver.
Ball never hit the rim. Confirmed that it's a green ball. 26-4 when it actually hit out of bounds.
So Brian Oliver has the update from Jerry Heater.
Yeah, he said that the ball never it never touched the rim. So now it's going to stay at 22-4.
And 9 on the shot clock.
9 on the shot clock. Yep. Florida A&M ball.
Plenty of time in this one. 57-51. It was a 22-20 halftime lead for Louisville. Tillman, 15 points, leading scorer for the Rattlers.
And if you're Basili, the last thing you want to do is you want to foul and stop the clock and give Smith an opportunity to go to the line. I thought that Florida A&M took too much time to get into that play, but then ill-advised foul by Basili.
Smith at the line for the first time today. Can't convert. Goes out of bounds to the Cardinals.
Again, Louisville up by 6, 18 seconds left to go. You look at the free play, and Smith misses that ball, and then you see Bates come over there, and again, in Florida A&M, you want to play the foul game and try to extend this game, force Louisville to be able to knock down free throws.
That's his third.
Right now, Louisville shot 16 for 23. Big free throws again for Ellis, who's had a solid afternoon.
So Ellis to the line, Brian. He's 1 for 3 on free throws tonight. That was a confident stroke from Ellis.
Again, if he hits this one, you're talking about potentially a 3-possession game. If I'm Florida A&M, I don't necessarily need a 3. I want to get a quick score and then continue to stretch this game out.
Ellis with 11 points, the double digits. Curry came over. They're going to score the basket on the goaltending violation from Curry.
And good penetration by Tillman. You see the blow by Tillman. He understands he's got Curry, puts it up high. Knows that the big guy's going to go after it.
So while we have a moment, don't forget the third game of our triple header. Grambling and Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Dean Linke and Mike Jaminski standing by for the call of that one. So the last play was the goaltend on Curry. It's about the only thing he hasn't done right today. Sidney Curry, 13 points, 19 rebounds, a career high for Curry. And Tillman on the other side for the Rattlers has a season high 17 points.
If you're in the huddle of Louisville, if you're Kenny Payne, you draw up something simple to make sure that you've got Ellis coming to the basketball. You don't want to crowd it. And on the other end, if you're Florida A&M, you try to deny that first pass, and as soon as the ball goes, you take that foul. Again, you want to go ahead and put them on the line. 11.5 seconds is still a lot of basketball, believe it or not, when you're down by only 6.
It's hard to win in college basketball sometimes.
It is, but it's interesting for me and you.
11.5 seconds away from a second straight win this week for the Ville. If the score holds up, this one did not come easy. Ellis in the corner. Chapman tried to tie him up, fouled him. So Ellis back to the free throw line, 11 points. All of his points in the second half, Brian. He was distributing in the first half with assists. He's provided some scoring in the second half.
Yeah, we saw him decide to be a distributor at the beginning of the game to establish their pace. Understand that they only had 22 points at the end of the first half. Picked it up a little bit and started to be a little bit more aggressive trying to get to the basket.
Ellis up to 12 points now with that free throw. Don't forget to check your local listings for this game. Grambling State and Virginia Tech. Number 24 in the nation, Blacksburg, Castle Coliseum. Linke and Jaminski have it for you. That's coming up next. The final game of our triple header. Trying to solidify this one. Curry just came out of the game to a rousing ovation, and why not? Ellis with another free throw. That should put a tight seal on this one. 61-53. Bates, acrobatic shot, made it. There's only 1.3 seconds to go. And that'll do it. 61-53. 55. Sidney Curry with the double-double. Curry with 13 points and 19 boards. Now it's time to send it to Blacksburg, Virginia, and Castle Coliseum for Grambling and Virginia Tech. Dean Linke and Mike Chominsky.